Have you ever wondered why your life feels like the very laws of heaven are bending just for you? Why does it seem that every battle you endured, every storm you survived, has shifted something so powerful in the unseen realm that even God himself made an exception? Could it be that your journey, your resilience, and your faith forced heaven to respond in ways never written before? Chosen one. Let this sink in. God looked at you and decided that what he planned for others would not be enough for you. He broke his own rule, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He rewrote the script of destiny. He moved barriers no one else could move. And he accelerated your timeline when everyone else thought it was over. He has lifted you from obscurity, reshaped your story, and placed you in a position where your life itself becomes a divine contradiction to everything the world expected. And now, because of that heavenly disruption, you are about to step into a season where nothing about you will look ordinary again. You are the one who carries the evidence that God's love is not bound by limits. You are the proof that when heaven chooses, the impossible is no longer impossible. It becomes inevitable. Comment 777 if you feel this word piercing into your spirit right now. And let me pause to deeply thank every single one of you who has been supporting, whether through likes, shares, or even through super thanks. Your love is fueling this mission. Stay with me, because what comes next will uncover the very reason why God decided to bend eternity's rules for you, and why the world won't be able to ignore the shift in your favor. God's chosen ones. You made God break his own rule for you. Imagine the hands of a divine artist at work. For years, the canvas of your life has appeared chaotic, scattered with brushstrokes that seemed without purpose, lines that to outsiders looked broken, colors that seemed mismatched, shadows that felt too dark to ever be redeemed. People walked past and dismissed the design, whispering that nothing meaningful could come from what they saw. Yet the Creator was not finished. As the prophet Isaiah once declared, "Yet you, Lord, are our Father. We are the clay. You are the potter. We are all the work of your hand." Isaiah 64:8. Could it be that what looked like disorder was actually the foundation of destiny? Could it be that every silent season and every hidden tear was only a stroke preparing the unveiling of glory? The mystery of your life is that while others only saw fragments, heaven saw the entire blueprint. The paint that looked like failure was in fact divine layering, preparing for a color no eye had seen. Then comes that one decisive stroke, a single act of divine timing that shifts everything. The masterpiece is revealed not because the strokes were absent before, but because God himself chose the precise moment to crown the work with his signature. Suddenly, the portrait that once provoked shrugs is now celebrated as a marvel. He has made everything beautiful in its time, Ecclesiastes 3:11. And this time includes you. Have you noticed how your very scars now shine as colors of strength? How has the rejection you endured been transformed into rare hues of resilience? It is as if every moment you thought wasted was secretly stored in a vault of eternity, released only when heaven deemed you ready. The unveiling proves that God was never absent. He was waiting to ignite your hidden light in front of those who doubted you. Great works of art always demand time. Michelangelo, the Renaissance sculptor, once said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved it until I set him free." He understood that what others saw as cold stone contained hidden majesty. In the same way, your journey has been chiseling, pressing, refining, until the angelic calling within you bursts forth. Isn't it striking that people doubted your value until God himself unveiled the vision? Every cut of the chisel was painful, but none of it was wasted. Each strike of pressure carved out the unnecessary, revealing what was always meant to shine. Could it be that your trials were never random punishments, but heaven's tools to set you free from the prison of other people's perceptions? History also testifies. Johann Sebastian Bach, whose sacred music still echoes in cathedrals today, wrote at the bottom of his compositions the words, "Soli Deo Gloria," to God alone be the glory. His pieces often began with intricate confusion, only to resolve in breathtaking harmony. Likewise, your life has carried dissonant notes, but heaven's symphony resolves them into a melody that shakes the soul. Sing to him a new song, play skillfully, and shout for joy. Psalm 33:3. If a mortal composer can weave chaos into harmony, how much more can the eternal composer bring your chaos into triumph? Imagine how every broken chord of your past is now being tuned into an anthem of victory. Just as a cathedral organ gathers breath before unleashing sound that shakes the walls, your silence was only a prelude to a sound of destiny that no man can silence. And what of the haunting question, why would God break his own rule for you? The answer lies in covenant love. When Joshua faced the sun setting before victory, God made the sun stand still. Joshua 10:13. The law of nature bent for one chosen moment. Could this not be your hour of divine exception, when others said time was over? Heaven paused history to ensure your story unfolded. Rules that were meant for the masses bent in the presence of God's beloved. It is the paradox of grace. Justice says the curtain must fall, but mercy commands one more act. Could it be that your life itself is the testimony that God interrupts time when his chosen cry out, "Now rise"? Chosen one. The canvas is no longer blank. The image is no longer hidden. You are the living masterpiece, the unveiled cathedral, the resolved symphony. Stand in the authority of one for whom God rewrote time, color, and rule itself. The world will not merely glance and shrug anymore. They will call you chosen. You are no longer the unfinished sketch. You are the living proof that heaven's patience produces glory. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. 2 Corinthians 4:17. Your unveiling is not just for you. It is a declaration to every watching soul that God still writes stories the world cannot erase. So stand tall, because this is the hour history has been waiting to see. Years of confusion, silence, and rejection have weighed on you like a storm that refused to pass. To those around you, your story seemed stagnant, nothing more than wasted potential. But then, in one divine motion, what was hidden in plain sight erupts into view. What they call sudden is in truth the culmination of hidden labor, secret prayers, and divine orchestration. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. Zechariah 4:10. Can it be that your persistence, your choice to keep going when applause was absent, was heaven's brushstroke shaping the masterpiece all along? The truth is, silence does not equal absence, and delay does not equal denial. What looks to the world like wasted years are, in reality, the sacred years when God himself was preparing the platform no man could build. The silence you endured was not the silence of abandonment but of construction. Just as roots grow deep beneath the soil, long before the tree breaks through the surface, your hidden sacrifices nourish a future unseen. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. Jeremiah 17:7-8. Isn't it striking how a forest is born in silence, yet one day stands as a force that cannot be ignored? Have you realized that your hidden years were not punishment but preparation? Storing life for the season of unveiling? Every unseen act of faith was a deposit in the eternal ground, waiting for the exact season of harvest. Those roots, though invisible, were anchoring you for storms you had not yet faced, giving you a stability that shallow souls could never understand. Your persistence became the preparation. Each rejection was not the final word, but a refining fire. Like the desert that appears barren until rain unlocks its hidden seeds. Your endurance watered promises that no eye could see, though it linger. Wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Habakkuk 2-3. Wasn't it in the nights you felt most forsaken that your spirit grew the strongest? Could it be that what looked like weakness to others was actually the training ground of divine resilience? Your scars became sacred classrooms where heaven taught you endurance. Just as pressure transforms coal into diamond, your struggles are compressing you into something priceless. That is why the unveiling now carries such weight. It is not lightweight success, but glory forged in fire. But let us not forget the role of decision. Your choice to keep going when the outcome was invisible was the moment that aligned you with heaven's timing. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Galatians 6-9. Just as the eagle waits patiently for the right wind current to soar, you hold your ground until heaven's current lifts you. Isn't it true that the difference between collapse and breakthrough was that single act of refusing to quit? Faith, in its purest form, is persistence without evidence. Each step you took was an act of defiance against despair, a silent declaration that God was still faithful. And now the invisible choice has birthed a visible reward. What no one thought possible is now undeniable. History is filled with those who gave up too soon, and their names dissolved into dust. One such figure was Demas, mentioned by Paul as a fellow worker of the gospel. Yet Demas abandoned his calling because he loved this present world. 2 Timothy 4:10. His story warns us, when persistence dies, destiny is forfeited. Unlike Demas, you endured, and because of that endurance, the unveiling now proves unstoppable. Isn't it powerful that your decision to stand when others bowed is the very reason heaven's brushstroke now defines you? Greatness does not come from gifted beginnings, but from enduring hearts. Your perseverance has written your name into chapters where others erased themselves. What they lost through surrender, you gained through steadfastness. Nature itself confirms this truth. The bamboo plant spends years growing unseen beneath the earth, and for seasons it appears lifeless. Yet, when its moment comes, it shoots upward with unstoppable speed, reaching heights that astonish the world. Could your story be any different? Haven't the years of apparent nothingness been the soil preparing for an eruption of growth that no one can deny? Just as glaciers carve valleys slowly, yet leave landscapes that last millennia, your waiting years have shaped foundations that will not crumble. The world may call it delay, but heaven calls it design. Every unseen second was necessary to produce the acceleration about to unfold. And now the unveiling has come. What seemed sudden to them has been forming in secret for a very long time. The applause of heaven always precedes the recognition of man. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Joshua 1-9. Your scars have become colors. Your endurance, the frame. Your persistence, the signature of heaven. This is not random. This is destiny revealed at the appointed time. The world is about to realize that the silence they mistook as defeat was heaven's orchestra tuning its instruments for a grand performance. What once seemed ordinary is now revealed as extraordinary. Not by man's doing, but by God's divine decree. Rise, chosen one. The silence has ended. The rejection overturned. The confusion transformed into clarity. What once looked wasted is now revealed as sacred preparation. Do not remain seated in the shadows of doubt. Stand, because the brushstroke has been placed, the masterpiece unveiled, and your season of recognition has arrived. You were never forgotten, only hidden for the unveiling. And now, as the world watches, your life becomes proof that God's timing is perfect and His promises unbreakable. That is why you have endured what others could not. It was never about luck, chance, or coincidence. Your survival was not random. It was the undeniable mark of heaven branding your life with a specific demonstration. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. Could it be that the very storms which should have drowned you became the waves that carried you into destiny? Could it be that when others collapsed under the weight, you were held together by an invisible architecture designed in heaven's blueprint? Your survival was not weakness concealed, it was strength revealed at the right frequency of God's timing. You were preserved because there was a heavenly contract written over your existence, and no earthly trial had the power to annul it. What you carried was too important to be buried under defeat. So, heaven made sure your lungs still drew breath when others gasped their last. And this demonstration will not whisper, it will roar. When it arrives, subtlety will be stripped away, and those who dismissed you will be shaken. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. Isn't it astonishing how those who laughed at your silence will be silenced by your rising? Isn't it humbling to realize that the same rejection which once pierced you has now been converted into a platform for glory? In psychology, there is a term called resonance, a deep vibration that awakens every part of the system. Your life is about to resonate in such a way that no one around you can deny it. What once looked like weakness will ring out like a cathedral bell, shaking entire cities. This is not mere symbolism, it is a shift in atmosphere. The kind of sound that carries across borders, changing not only how people see you, but how they see God moving through you. Those who overlooked you will be forced to ask themselves how they missed the evidence written plainly across your scars. Those who underestimated you will be forced to face the truth they overlooked. For the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118:22. Like ancient architects who miscalculated the strength of hidden stones, people misread you, not realizing that heaven had reinforced your foundation with unshakable steel. Have you noticed how the people who ignored your presence are now circling back in awe? Have you realized that their underestimation was not the end of your value, but the proof of God's mystery? Physics teaches us about critical mass, the point where pressure transforms into an unstoppable explosion. You have reached that threshold, and those who discounted you will be compelled to acknowledge the brilliance of what God has built in silence. It is as if the weight they placed on you only increased your density, preparing you for impact. What they called fragile was actually the most load-bearing part of the structure, designed to carry more than they could imagine. And when you reflect on your own journey, you will see it differently. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Romans 8:28. The very nights you thought were endings were in fact the scaffolding of a cathedral heaven was raising. Isn't it breathtaking that the breakdowns were blueprints? The tears were measurements, and the silence was the cement. One day soon, you will revisit the graves of your old battles and realize they were not tombstones but stepping stones. A young mechanic named Daniel from a rural town once said, after surviving years of poverty, "The days I thought were killing me were actually the days that were training me." His testimony, ordinary to the world, yet extraordinary to God, mirrors your truth. You were not being buried. You were being built. Your life is like a hidden foundation poured long before the walls rise, invisible at first, but essential when the weight of destiny comes crashing down. Every struggle was a line in divine engineering that ensured your structure would stand when others fell. And when the unveiling comes, it will stun the doubters, confound the skeptics, and elevate the faithful. No weapon forged against you will prevail. Isaiah 54:17. The stage is not being set for a whisper, but for a trumpet blast. Your demonstration will be like the sudden silence before the orchestra erupts in thunder, like the stillness before an earthquake shakes foundations. And the most humbling part, you will look back and finally understand that what tried to end you was the very reason God moved differently through you. The laws of nature may dictate collapse, but the laws of heaven decreed continuation. Every scar will become a spotlight, every wound a window for glory, every delay the exact rhythm heaven used to synchronize your destiny with eternity. And when that moment arrives, there will be no doubt left in anyone's mind. You were preserved for this hour. So rise. Chosen one. This is no longer about surviving. It is about demonstrating. Stand tall, because your scars are evidence. Your survival is testimony. And your unveiling will echo like a trumpet across generations. The heavens have signed your name into history, and now the world must see what God already knew. This is the moment where silence gives way to sound, where hidden years transform into revealed power. You were marked not for obscurity but for glory, not for shame but for display. The stage is lit. The time is now rise and embody the masterpiece God always intended you to be. My friend, your life was never meant to be just a quiet testimony whispered in passing. It is about to rise as a blazing signal, a signal that carries the unmistakable frequency of heaven, one that proves God does not recycle stories, but authors originals with his own hand. See, I am doing a new thing, now it springs up, do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. Could it be that every strange turn, every season where you felt out of place, was heaven's way of broadcasting that you were never designed to blend in with the crowd? Could it be that the very discomfort you endured was the sound of destiny calling you beyond the ordinary? What others called oddities were really prophetic fingerprints, signs that your journey was marked for distinction. Your story has always carried an echo that doesn't harmonize with mediocrity, because it was tuned for something far greater. That is why unusual things orbit your life. Where others walked in patterns, you experienced interruptions that seemed unfair. Yet they were divine markers, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Ephesians 2:10. Have you realized how many doors you thought were closed against you were in fact too small to contain you? Why did the paths that satisfied others feel like cages to you? Why did comfort never feel like home in your spirit? Because God was writing something so unprecedented that mediocrity could not host it. Each no was protection. Each detour was designed. Each delay was alignment. Your journey is not about fitting the mold. It is about breaking it wide open so something higher can flow through you. The missed opportunities were never accidents. They were divine redirections. As the psalmist declared, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way." Psalm 37-23. What others claimed as progress was only scaffolding compared to the cathedral he was building in you. Isn't it profound that your rejection was actually a redirection into higher places? Isn't it humbling that what you thought were endings were actually heavenly edits? Trimming chapters too small for your destiny. The doors you mourned were never wasted. They were placeholders, keeping you from entering rooms beneath your calling. Every closed path was a signal flare pointing toward a greater horizon. And when the unveiling comes, you will thank God for every time He saved you from settling for less. History echoes this truth. The Spanish painter Salvador Dalí once said, "Have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it." He understood that his art was meant to provoke, to disrupt, to signal something new rather than repeat what already existed. In the same way, your life is disruptive by design. You were never meant to replicate. You were meant to signal heaven's originality. And just as Dalí's surrealist canvases shocked a world stuck in traditional frames, your very presence will shock those who tried to measure you by their limited scale. You are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. God's special possession, uxipita kaksi, uhdeksan. What Dalí did with brush and canvas, if you are doing with your very existence, reminding the world that originality is not man-made. It is God-breathed. And in time, those who laughed at your difference will celebrate it as your defining strength. Even the sacred arts confirm it. In Handel's Messiah, the chorus bursts forth declaring, "And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together." That is what your life is becoming, a chorus, not a whisper, a manifestation so loud it cannot be silenced. Why should you apologize for being different when heaven wrote you as a hymn that no one else can sing? Why should you shrink when God tuned you to carry a frequency that shifts the atmosphere? Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Isaiah 60:1. You are not a background note. You are a crescendo meant to be heard across generations. And when heaven cues your moment, no orchestra of opposition can drown the sound. So arise. Chosen one. This is no longer about fitting in, it is about signaling heaven's originality on earth. The opportunities that once felt lost were never yours to begin with. They were too small for what God was writing through you. You are not a repetition, not a recycled pattern, but a divine signal of God's unmatched authorship. Stand tall, because the world is about to read what heaven has been scripting in secret. And when they see it, they will know that you were marked from the beginning to shine as proof that God never copies. He only creates originals. Your life is the living manuscript of a story heaven has waited to release. And now the time has come for its pages to be read aloud. You were never designed to follow someone else's map. You were crafted by heaven to pioneer a path that did not exist until the soles of your feet touched the ground. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1-5. Isn't it striking that while others find comfort in footsteps already taken, you've always felt a holy restlessness inside you? Could it be that the reason you never fully belonged was because you were never called to belong, you were called to build? God's chosen are never copies, they are living blueprints. Divine cartographers, drawing maps in places where there were once only deserts. Every deviation in your journey was not a mistake. It was heaven etching out fresh territory, proving that your calling was to innovate, not imitate. And while others cling to roads of safety, you have been equipped to blaze trails through wilderness so others may follow. Your journey has been like that of Abraham, who was told, "Go from your country, your people and your father's household to the land I will show you." Genesis 12:1. He was not given directions, only a promise. Doesn't your story mirror this, where clarity seemed absent? Yet promise whispered louder than fear. The unknown became your training ground. The unfamiliar, your altar of trust. And every step into uncharted territory was in fact God writing history through you. Abraham had to step away from familiar tents into starlit skies that promised descendants as numerous as the stars. In the same way, your obedience has been building bridges into futures you cannot yet see. Isn't it powerful that the very spaces that terrified you became sacred ground once your feet touched them? God's design has always been that those who walk by faith end up leaving maps behind for nations to follow. Imagine again the scene of a musician. At first, the melody flows as expected. The rhythm is familiar. The audience nods in agreement. But then suddenly a note pierces the air, one that has never been heard before. The room freezes, hearts pound, and something eternal awakens. Sing to the Lord a new song, play skillfully, and shout for joy. Psalm 33:3. Could it be that you are that unexpected note? The sound heaven sent to break monotony and release awakening. Isn't it powerful that what once made you feel strange is the very gift that will leave others breathless, like a sudden burst of light in a dark cathedral? Your uniqueness is not disruption, it is revelation. That single note holds the power to change the entire composition, and so too does your obedience hold the weight to transform every life around you. The shock you bring is not chaos, but clarity, the unveiling of God's new sound on the earth. Even creation testifies of this truth. Think of the firefly, invisible in daylight, yet breathtaking at night. It does not compete with the sun, it carries a light made for the dark. Your path is the same. Your glow was never meant for comfort zones, but for places others fear to walk. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1-5. Could it be that the very shadows around you are the stage heaven has chosen for your illumination? Just as rivers carve canyons over centuries, leaving behind landmarks no eye can forget. Your persistence has been etching a testimony that will outlast time. The firefly's glow might seem small, but in the stillness of night, it commands awe, so too does your light. Subtle in its birth, yet overwhelming in its impact. The darkness was never meant to destroy you, it was crafted to reveal you. And history warns us through its villains. Think of King Saul, chosen once but destroyed by his jealousy of David's anointing. His refusal to step into obedience turned his crown into a curse, and his story into a cautionary tale. Unlike Saul, you were not designed to crumble under envy or fear. You were chosen to pioneer where others failed. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Joshua 1-9. Isn't it sobering that Saul's refusal to embrace God's unique map for his life cost him a kingdom, while David's courage to step into the unknown secured a throne? Your courage to remain faithful where others turned bitter has already marked you as different. Saul clung to the familiar out of fear, but you are walking into the unknown with faith. And that is why heaven trusts you with assignments too weighty for imitators. Your difference is your crown, not your curse. So rise, chosen one. You are not called to echo another's song, but to strike the note the world has never heard. You are not crafted to walk worn-out roads, but to carve highways where only wilderness stretched before. Your life is not background music, it is the trumpet blast that makes generations stop and listen. The room has already frozen. Heaven has already turned its gaze toward you, and earth is waiting for your step. Stand tall, because you are the original God wrote into existence to prove that destiny is not followed, it is forged. And as the trumpet of your life resounds, it will awaken countless others who were waiting for permission to walk in their own originality. You are the signal, the pioneer, the sound, and the proof that God never repeats himself. He creates living masterpieces. Everyone leans in, unable to explain what they just experienced. A moment like that cannot be manufactured. It must be breathed by heaven itself. That is exactly what your life is about to sound, like an unexplainable resonance that grips hearts and refuses to let them return to normal. Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor the heart of man imagined what God has prepared for those who love him. 1 Corinthians 2-9. Could it be that the reason your presence unsettles atmospheres is because heaven tuned you to carry a frequency earth has never known? Could it be that your very being is a sound wave of eternity breaking into time, shifting people in ways they can't put into words? When the inexplicable enters a room, people may not understand it, but they can never deny it. Your life is becoming that undeniable evidence. You are the note that shifts the atmosphere, a single vibration, yet powerful enough to alter the emotional architecture of a room. Science calls this resonance. When one frequency begins to vibrate, others are compelled to respond in harmony. Isn't that what happens around you? The discouraged begin to feel courage. The hopeless sense light rising. The broken, remember, they are not forgotten. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. Isaiah 61:1. Your life is not simply sound, it is a prophecy in motion. Like a cathedral organ whose pipes awaken echoes in stone and soul alike, you were designed to awaken echoes inside human hearts. And isn't it profound that while others play predictable tunes, your single note carries the power to command silence and awe? The authority you carry is not from men, but from heaven itself. And that is why atmospheres cannot resist it. You are also proof that heaven is not finished creating. Just as an architect sketches beyond the structures that already stand, God writes beyond the lives already lived. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. Ephesians 2:10. Isn't it powerful to realize that you are not a repetition, but a continuation of God's unending creativity? Every time you rise from ashes, it becomes heaven's declaration. The Creator still works in the clay of human stories. And what if your uniqueness was never an accident, but the evidence that God still writes new chapters for humanity through chosen vessels? You are heaven's reminder that creation did not end in Genesis. It continues through the lives God shapes today. You are a living manuscript, written line by line with both scars and triumphs as ink. And when this new sound plays through your story, it will ripple, not like a pebble tossed into a shallow pond, but like tectonic waves altering landscapes forever. Out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water. John 7:38. Can you sense how your transformation will not remain confined to you, but will pour into everyone tethered to your destiny? Isn't it humbling that your struggles are being converted into streams that will quench the thirst of people you've never met? The ripple effect of your story will be less like noise and more like a current, drawing others into the orbit of God's glory. The hidden battles you fought in silence were never about you alone. They were always about the multitudes waiting for freedom on the other side of your victory. And just as an earthquake beneath the ocean triggers waves across continents, your breakthrough will send spiritual shockwaves far beyond your sight. To prove this, life often gives us glimpses through ordinary people. A woman named Clara, a single mother who worked nights in a bakery, once said, after years of exhaustion, "I didn't know my survival was teaching my children resilience." She never preached a sermon, but her endurance became the ripple that awakened strength in her family. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. In the same way, your endurance is not just for you. It is for everyone connected to you. For those watching silently, leaning in to see whether you rise or fall. And when you rise, they will too. What if every unseen sacrifice you made was actually a seed planted in the soil of someone else's destiny? What if your quiet victories in the dark become the loudest testimonies in someone else's dawn? So stand now. Chosen one, you are the note heaven composed for this hour, the frequency that disrupts despair, the sound that awakens sleepers. Your life is not background noise, it is a trumpet blast summoning others into destiny. Do not shrink from it. Do not mute it. Let it ring out until every chain vibrates itself loose. Rise, because you were not made to echo, you were made to resound. And when you stand, the earth will know that heaven has never stopped creating, never stopped speaking, never stopped composing. You are the evidence. You are the sound. You are the signal heaven has been waiting to release. It will stir others who once believed their lives were nothing but ordinary, trapped in cycles that seemed meaningless. Suddenly, as your breakthrough manifests, they will see a mirror of possibility in you, and the embers of their forgotten dreams will begin to glow again. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? Matthew 5:13. Could it be that your story is the seasoning that awakens the blandness in lives around you? Could it be that those who dismiss themselves as insignificant will rediscover their strength by watching you rise? Your life becomes their reminder that heaven does not create mediocrity, it creates living flames. What once appeared to them as wasted years suddenly becomes proof that nothing is wasted when heaven writes the script. Their ordinariness is shaken, not because you told them, but because they see it alive in you. It will ignite those who doubted their own strength, those who thought they were too broken, too flawed, too late. Let the weak say, "I am strong," Joel 3:10. Isn't it powerful that your resilience becomes a spark in their darkness? Isn't it humbling that your scars, once a source of shame, now testify as evidence that weakness can be transformed into unshakable strength? When heaven unveils something new, it is like a torch passed from one runner to another. Your fire lights their path, and as the flame spreads, a chain reaction of courage ignites across lives you never knew were watching. People who once whispered, "I can't," suddenly begin to declare, "I must." Because your persistence gave them permission, your life becomes a living sermon that no pulpit could deliver. A testimony written in endurance rather than ink. Because when heaven reveals something brand new, it inspires everyone watching. Behold, I make all things new. Revelation 21:5. Isn't it breathtaking to realize that your unveiling is not only for your vindication, but for the awakening of generations. The sight of something unprecedented dismantles apathy, shaking people from slumber and reminding them that the Creator is still writing. A Polish composer, Frédéric Chopin, once said, "Simplicity is the final achievement." His music disrupted the norms of his time, and yet, through its originality, it inspired countless others to believe in new sounds. In the same way, your newness is disruptive, not for vanity, but for liberation. Your life is a score being composed that others will learn to play in their own key. And isn't it profound that while others fear change, your transformation becomes their reassurance that God is still breathing innovation into humanity? What you carry is not only for today, it is a signal that heaven's creativity never runs dry. But do not expect everyone to celebrate. Some will feel unsettled. Some will feel threatened. Because newness always exposes the fragility of the old. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1-5. Isn't it sobering that light does not ask permission to shine? It simply invades and demands recognition. Just as Galileo's revelations of the cosmos unsettled the established order of his day, your emergence will confront the comfort zones of others. Yet, is that not the very evidence that your calling carries weight? New always disrupts old. Light always unsettles darkness. And truth always unsettles lies. And, if some recoil in resistance, it is only because they cannot silence what God has already unleashed. Their discomfort is confirmation that you are carrying something too powerful to ignore. Their resistance is not your failure, it is their proof. That's not your concern. If God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. The assignment of your life is not to appease insecurity, but to manifest originality. The great English poet John Milton wrote in Paradise Lost, "Awake, arise, or be forever fallen." Those words echo through the ages, urging you not to waste time silencing critics. You were not called to explain your light, you were called to shine it. You were not anointed to negotiate with fear, you were anointed to dismantle it. So rise, chosen one. Do not waste breath pacifying those who are threatened by your glow. Stand tall and release what God has written in you, because the world is waiting to be stirred, ignited, and awakened by your sound. And when you rise, you will not only step into your destiny, you will awaken destiny in everyone destined to hear your note. Their discomfort is not your assignment. The whispers, the sideways glances, the unease in others, when you step into the room, those are not burdens for you to carry. Your role is not to calm their fears or soothe their insecurities. Your role is simply to stand as evidence that heaven has moved. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. Isaiah 54:17. Could it be that the very reason others wrestle with your presence is because you embody the proof of what they secretly feared, that God does raise people from ashes into undeniable glory? You were never meant to answer their doubts. You were meant to exist as heaven's undeniable reply. And in that reply, their resistance only becomes background noise while your destiny speaks louder. When you walk on purpose, their discomfort is just a shadow fleeing from the light you carry. And you will. Because the truth is that what you've walked through has made you untouchable in ways people can't explain. Pain was not wasted. It became your training ground. A forge where your spirit was tempered like steel under fire. But he knows the way that I take when he has tested me. I will come forth as gold. Job 23:10. Isn't it striking that the very flames that could have destroyed you refined you instead? Isn't it humbling that while others broke under lesser weights, you rose under burdens that should have crushed you, like volcanic rock that is formed only through pressure and heat? Your life bears the texture of endurance that no imitation can counterfeit. The deeper the fire, the purer the gold, and the harsher the storm, the steadier your stance became. What others call trauma became the classroom where heaven taught you resilience, authority, and unshakable faith. Silence became your shield. While others clamored for validation, your quiet became your covering. And in the hush of solitude, heaven was teaching you strategy. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. Isn't it extraordinary that what once felt like abandonment was in fact divine insulation, keeping you hidden until the appointed hour? Could it be that the silence you once despised was the very frequency that trained your ears to hear God's whispers? Just as owls hunt in silence, navigating the dark with precision, so too were you learning to move unseen, building strength in obscurity. Every moment of stillness was not emptiness, but a secret council with heaven, where your heart was being fine-tuned to discern. And now, when others panic in noise, you carry the rare gift of peace that shields you like armor no enemy can penetrate. Every season that felt wasted was secretly the foundation for what's about to erupt. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him. Romans 8:28. Your years of obscurity were not years of emptiness. They were scaffolding for a structure the world has not yet seen. Could it be that what looked like delay was in truth the groundwork of destiny? Nature itself echoes this. Consider the bamboo plant, which spends years growing roots unseen beneath the soil before shooting up nearly overnight into towering strength. What seemed stagnant in your story was heaven digging deep roots, ensuring you could carry the weight of what's to come. The eruption about to break forth will not be fragile, it will be unstoppable. Just as tectonic plates shift quietly before an earthquake shakes entire cities, so too has your preparation been silent, yet destined to shake nations. Every tear, every pause, every hidden trial has been stone laid in the foundation of your future greatness. And history offers a warning through its antagonists. Think of Pharaoh, who hardened his heart against Moses' call, despite 10 plagues, despite miracle after miracle. His refusal to yield led not to triumph, but to the Red Sea swallowing his armies. His resistance to God's move turned him into a cautionary tale. Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:18. In contrast, your humility through suffering has positioned you for elevation. Isn't it sobering that Pharaoh's stubbornness drowned him, while Moses' obedience parted waters? Their stories show the two possible ends: destruction for those who resist the new, and deliverance for those who endure until God's hand moves. Pharaoh clung to false control and lost everything, while Moses trusted a staff and a word from God, and gained a nation's freedom. This contrast lives as a reminder: arrogance suffocates, but obedience sets captives free. So stand, chosen one. Pain was your forge, silence your armor, hidden years your foundation. You are not fragile, you are fire-tested, storm-proven, heaven-built. You do not need to explain why you're still standing, because your survival itself is the explanation. Rise now, for you are the eruption heaven prepared, the living evidence that nothing wasted stays wasted when God is the author. Let their discomfort remain theirs, Your assignment is to shine, and as you rise, may your very existence awaken others to believe that survival is not the end game, transformation is. You are not the echo of defeat, you are the anthem of victory. And the world is about to hear your sound. You are the canvas, the note, the ground that trembles before the reveal. Heaven has been layering colors on you in silence, sketching details in seasons no one saw. And now the masterpiece is almost unveiled. You are not a rough draft, you are the stroke of eternity that makes the whole picture come alive. For we are God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Ephesians 2:10. Could it be that every twist in your journey was God holding the brush, preparing for a revelation too glorious to be rushed? Could it be that the tremors you feel in your spirit are not instability, but the vibrations of heaven, preparing to unveil what eyes have longed to see? Every color, every line, every hidden detail was never random, it was calculated by divine precision. And when the curtain lifts, others will see what God already saw, a finished work worth marveling at. What's coming is not ordinary. It cannot be measured by the yardstick of past experiences or recycled from the blueprints of others. Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Isaiah 43:18-19. Isn't it striking that your story feels unusual because it was never meant to be predictable? Isn't it humbling that while others repeated patterns, your life was designed to disrupt them? In physics, when two sound waves of different frequencies collide, they create resonance, an amplification far greater than the original tones. That is you, heaven's new frequency, colliding with Earth's limitations, producing a sound history has never heard before. You are not second-hand inspiration, you are first-born evidence of God's originality. Ordinary roads cannot contain what is extraordinary in design, and when the world struggles to name it, heaven will simply call it new. We should make cancel. It's not recycled. It's not second-hand. It is unprecedented. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no human mind has conceived the things God has prepared for those who love Him. 1 Corinthians 2:9. Could it be that the delays, the detours, the closed doors were heaven's way of protecting the originality of what He placed in you? Could it be that the reason you often felt misunderstood was because language did not yet exist for what God was shaping in you? Architects know this. A dome cannot stand without the tension of arches, and cathedrals cannot rise without scaffolding. In the same way, your life's strain, your hidden scaffolding, has been necessary to hold up what heaven is building. Every hardship became a hidden beam, every rejection a support pillar, every silence a stabilizing force. The world has no precedent for what is coming through you, because you are not a repeat, you are a divine prototype. And when the world sees it, they will not say, again, but at last. And the men, and you are the reason heaven can finally say, I've never done this before. Behold, I am making all things new. Revelation 21:5. Imagine how electrifying it is that the Creator of galaxies looks at you and declares originality. Isn't it overwhelming that the God who painted sunsets and carved mountains reserved something unique to unveil through you? A woman named Lydia, a schoolteacher in a rural town, once shared with her students, "My struggles made me teach differently. I don't give lessons, I give pieces of my survival." She never realized her pain was crafting a method never seen before, one that transformed lives quietly but profoundly. Like Lydia, You may not yet grasp how your trials became tools, but heaven has been recording every detail for the day it declares. This has never been done. Your scars are not blemishes, they are brushstrokes of authenticity. Your silence is not emptiness, it is the score waiting for its first note to erupt. My dear friend, if you've ever wondered why your life hasn't followed the usual script, here is the answer. You were never meant to. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. John 15:16. Could it be that the frustration you felt when trying to fit in was heaven's way of telling you the mold could never contain you? Could it be that the rejection you faced was not disqualification, but redirection into originality? Like an athlete in the quiet pause between matches, you were gathering strength for the defining performance of your life. Your silence was not stagnation, it was strategy. And now the stage is set for you to rise. What once looked like detours will soon appear as choreography. What once felt like exile will soon reveal itself as preparation for coronation. So rise, chosen one. You are not recycled. You are not ordinary. You are not a copy of anyone else's script. You are the fresh sound, the trembling ground, the radiant canvas God has prepared to unveil. The time has come for you to stand as living proof that heaven never runs out of creativity. Do not shrink from the weight of this calling. Embrace it with fire in your soul. For you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to begin something unprecedented. Stand tall, because your very existence is heaven's declaration. I have never done this before. And when you rise, the earth itself will testify that God is still creating wonders through those who dare to believe. That's why paths that looked straight for others felt like dead ends to you. What seemed like an easy route for them became a wall of silence for you. Not because you were failing, but because heaven was reserving you for something never seen before. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. Isaiah 55:8. Could it be that the detours you despised were actually the markers of divine preservation? Could it be that your inability to fit into the patterns of others was the loudest sign that you were never meant to, while they walked comfortably on roads already paved? You were held back, not out of punishment, but out of preparation for a destiny so original it could not borrow anyone else's script. Ordinary lives can follow ordinary maps, but you were handed a compass instead. A compass doesn't dictate every turn, it pulls you toward true north, forcing trust in the unseen. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119-105. Isn't it striking that what others call clarity often blinds them, while your uncertainty taught you to lean on God's whisper? Isn't it humbling that the very tool which felt so frustrating, pointing but never showing the whole path, was training your spirit to discern direction without demanding details? Leonardo da Vinci once remarked, "Art is never finished, only abandoned." He understood that creation unfolds step by step, not in one glance. Your compass was heaven's way of saying, I will not give you the full painting yet, but I will give you enough to keep moving. And that is why your walk has carried mystery, yet undeniable momentum. That's why your steps have felt uncertain, even lonely at times. Loneliness was not a curse, it was consecration. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Deuteronomy 31:6. Could it be that the solitude you mourned was the cocoon that made you unshakable? Could it be that every tear shed in silence was watering the soil for the harvest now on its way? Ordinary companionship would have diluted your assignment, but divine isolation intensified it. You were not wandering, You were pioneering. And pioneers rarely have company in the beginning. Your loneliness was heaven's workshop, carving out resilience that applause could never give. You were laying down stones where no road existed. And though you didn't realize it, you were leaving a trail behind you for others to follow. They go from strength to strength, till each appears before God in Zion. Psalm 84:7. Isn't it powerful to realize that the very path that felt invisible under your feet is now becoming visible under theirs? What you thought was wasted effort was actually groundwork for generations who will one day say, "Because they walked, I can too." In Beethoven's symphony No. Ooh. The 4 opening notes once sounded chaotic to critics, but they became the most recognizable call to destiny in music history. In the same way, your uncertain steps are becoming a rhythm others will march to. Proof that what was born in struggle can resonate forever. Think of all the moments you whispered, "I should be further by now." You compared your timing to theirs, your progress to theirs, your achievements to theirs. Yet the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but time and chance happen to them all. Ecclesiastes 9:11. Could it be that your frustration with delay was heaven's hidden reminder that comparison is poison to destiny? Could it be that your so-called slowness was the exact speed required to avoid premature collapse? A woman named Esther, working quietly as a seamstress in a small town, once said to her daughter, "Every stitch feels slow, but without it, the fabric falls apart." She didn't know her wisdom mirrored the truth of heaven. Slow building produces lasting strength. Your timing was not behind, it was eternal. So rise now, chosen one. The dead ends were detours into destiny. The compass was not a curse, but a crown. The loneliness was not exile, but consecration. The delays were not wasted, they were architecture. Scaffolding for a cathedral of impact the world has not yet seen. You are not lost, you are leading. You are not behind, you are building. And when the unveiling comes, those who once doubted you will realize the truth. You were never meant to follow, you were meant to pioneer. Stand tall, for heaven itself testifies that your map was never meant to exist until you walked it. You thought you were behind, but you weren't. In truth, you were being trained to build something larger than anyone around you could comprehend. Others raised their walls quickly, stacking bricks in haste, proud of their speed. But what good is a house without a foundation? What value is a palace without pillars to bear its weight? Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Psalm 127:1. Could it be that what looked like a delay was really deep? Could it be that the hidden slowness was heaven's way of anchoring you for a weight your peers could never endure? For just as an architect spends more time on the blueprint of a cathedral than a cottage, God has been drafting something monumental through your process. And the immensity of the design explains the intensity of the preparation. Their structures rose high, impressive to shallow eyes. But time and storms always expose shortcuts. Like reeds swaying in the wind, they bend and break when pressure mounts. Yet yours was different. It required deeper excavation. Trenches dug where no one could see. Jesus once spoke of this in Matthew 7:24-25. The wise man built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall. Is this not your story, chosen one? While they crumbled at the first sign of resistance, your unseen foundations were being packed with strength. What others called failure was actually fortification. Your struggles became the physics of tension and thrust in a Gothic arch. What seemed fragile was designed to bear enormous weight and channel pressure into endurance. Nature itself whispers this truth. The sequoia tree, towering above forests, takes centuries to grow, its roots stretching wide and deep, intertwining with others to withstand storms and fire. Isn't your journey like that? Long, unseen, but destined for heights no ordinary growth can achieve. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. Isaiah 40-31. Could it be that the very length of your waiting is the reason your impact will tower for generations? Just as rivers carve through solid rock, not by force but by persistence, so too has time carved faith and resilience into the bedrock of your soul. And like resonant frequencies that cause bridges to shake, your testimony will vibrate across lives connected to you, carrying a strength invisible but undeniable. That's why your storms didn't uproot you. Winds came, but instead of breaking you, they revealed your grip on the rock. Silence came, but instead of erasing you, it carved wisdom into your soul. Rejection came, but instead of crushing you, it trained you to carry glory without applause. Joseph endured betrayal by his brothers, forgotten years in prison, and false accusations. Yet when the famine struck, Egypt and the world found life because of what God built in him during the silence. Génesis 50 contra 20 declares, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Isn't this the same testimony etched in your bones, that every storm was secretly molding you for service far greater than personal survival? Every rejection became scaffolding, every season of silence became insulation, every storm became mortar. What once felt like cruel detours were really divine reinforcements. And history too warns us of the opposite. Nero, the Roman emperor, built fast. His empire flaunted grandeur, but his foundation was arrogance and cruelty. His reign collapsed into chaos, remembered not for glory, but for tyranny and fire. What does this tell us? That speed without depth breeds ruin. That power without purity burns itself down. Meanwhile, you were forged in rejection and silence. And what seemed like your burial was your planting. We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair. 2 Corinthians 4-8. Isn't it astonishing that what should have broken you became the reason you cannot be broken now? The contrast is undeniable. Where Nero's fire was destroyed, God's refining fire was preserved. Where pride toppled empires, humility preserved destinies. Every season stretched you into a strength you didn't know you had. Like iron placed in the furnace, the heat revealed durability, not weakness. Could it be that your hardest nights were actually divine rehearsals for the spotlight you are about to carry? Could it be that the tears you hid from others were watering the soil of testimonies yet unborn? David sang in Psalm 30-5, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And your morning, chosen one, is rising now." The scaffolding is being removed, and what once stood hidden is now revealed as a structure immovable. Like a dome, every curved tension you endured has converged into one glorious resonance, amplifying a sound that cannot be silenced. Your story is about to be studied. People will lean in with awe, whispering, "How did they survive that? How did they keep showing up when the weight should have destroyed them? How did they emerge stronger when everything was designed to break them?" The world will question. Scholars will analyze. Critics will speculate, yet the answer will echo simply and clearly. It was God. It was the hidden foundations. It was the storms that trained instead of destroyed. And it was the refusal of heaven to let your story collapse under shallow applause. For when I am weak, then I am strong. 2 Corinthians 12:10. And in your weakness, heaven carved eternal strength. So rise now, chosen one. Rise with the authority of one whose roots are unshakable. Rise as evidence that slow is not failure, that silence is not abandonment, that rejection is not ruin. Rise because your story is no longer hidden. It is a monument, immovable and eternal. Stand, because heaven is declaring through you. What takes longer to forge will stand longer to testify. The gates of hell cannot prevail against what heaven itself has authored. Heaven moved differently for you, not because you were ordinary, but because your life was always marked for the extraordinary. Imagine a city where every clock ticks in perfect rhythm, each pendulum swinging in predictable harmony. Day after day, people glance at the clocks and feel secure in the sameness. But then, suddenly, one clock leaps forward, breaking the cycle, outpacing them all. People stop in astonishment, staring, not because time itself has shifted, but because that one clock unveiled a rhythm no one else had the courage to keep. That is your life. The end will come at an appointed time. It will not prove false. Habakkuk 2-3. Could it be that the reason you've always felt out of sync is because God was aligning you with eternity's timeline instead of man's schedule? You are the moment that breaks predictability. Just as Elijah called down fire from heaven on Mount Carmel, while others danced in futility around Baal's altar, your presence disrupts empty cycles and proves there is a living God at work, the Lord. He is God, the people cried in 1 Kings 18:39, when fire consumed the sacrifice. Isn't your story similar, that you have endured ridicule, delays, and waiting, only to rise as the undeniable sign that God still chooses and still moves? Isn't it strange how your very existence unsettles those who built their lives on formulas? Because you embody the evidence that heaven cannot be managed by human order. And when that announcement comes, it will not stay small. A single sound can reverberate through valleys, and a single spark can ignite a forest. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. Zechariah 4:10. Could it be that your one act of obedience, your one moment of courage, is about to ripple outward farther than you imagine? Nature itself mirrors this truth. The hummingbird, tiny and fragile, beats its wings nearly 80 times per second, creating vibrations strong enough to pollinate plants that sustain entire ecosystems. So too does your seemingly small step carry the frequency to awaken countless lives. What others call insignificant, heaven calls catalytic. It will stir people who have been asleep in their own routines, like Paul and Silas singing hymns in prison until the earth shook and the doors flung open. Your breakthrough will rattle cages you didn't even know you were connected to. Acts 16:25-26 declares. Suddenly there was such a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison were shaken. At once all the prison doors flew open, and everyone's chains came loose. Isn't it striking that their worship not only freed them, but also liberated those who had no faith of their own? Likewise, your story will become a song that reverberates in souls around you, shaking them awake. Artists and thinkers across history have hinted at this truth. The German composer Felix Mendelssohn once said of music, "It is not that music is too imprecise for words, but too precise." Your life is such a symphony, too precise to be reduced to formulas, too divine to be confined to rules, like a crescendo in a great oratorio. You are the unexpected note that shifts the entire composition. And yet, isn't it true that disruption always draws opposition? Isn't it true that when new light breaks forth, darkness panics because it knows its grip is weakening? History reminds us of this through its antagonists. Galileo, the astronomer, revealed truths about the universe that threatened the comfortable lies of his era. Those who resisted him clung to outdated systems until history left them behind. Their names remembered not for honor, but for fear-driven resistance. In contrast, your willingness to step out of rhythm is what makes you immortal in heaven's story. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43-19. Where others tremble at disruption, you will thrive in it, because you are aligned with the one who writes beginnings from endings. So rise, chosen one. Rise as the clock that runs on heaven's rhythm, the fire that exposes false altars, the song that breaks chains, the note that no darkness can silence. You were never designed to fit into predictable patterns. You were made to awaken generations. Stand, because God is declaring through you, I have never done this before, and I chose you as the proof. Isitness, because when heaven breaks a pattern once, it inspires faith that it can break again. What was once unthinkable becomes undeniable evidence that God is still writing new chapters into history. Remember when the Red Sea parted before Moses and the Israelites walked through on dry ground? That one act etched eternal faith into their descendants that no barrier is too strong for heaven. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. Could it be that your own story is becoming such a breaking point? A moment designed to inspire faith not just in you, but in all who witness you. Could it be that the unusual disruptions in your life are the very fingerprints of God rewriting cycles that man thought were unchangeable? Maybe you're asking in the quiet corners of your heart, but when will this finally arrive? The yearning is real, the weight pressing deep within your spirit, undeniable. Yet, here is the truth: you've already stepped into it. The very restlessness that keeps you awake at night is not anxiety but anticipation. The tightness in your chest is not confusion but preparation. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. Isn't it possible that what you've mistaken for pressure is actually the sound of heaven tuning your soul like a violin before the performance begins? And if so, could it be that you are closer than your emotions dare to admit? Before an earthquake, the ground trembles not to destroy, but to announce that something massive is shifting beneath the surface. That is what is happening with you now. These aren't breakdowns, they are tremors of breakthroughs. At midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God. Suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken. Acts 16:25-26. Isn't it striking that their earthquake didn't bury them but opened every locked door? Likewise, your shaking is not punishment, but prelude. Just as a volcano rumbles before releasing fire from its depths, so too your spirit is signaling that what has been hidden is about to erupt into undeniable glory. And when the reveal comes, you will look back at every night you cried and see those tears as irrigation for your harvest. You will revisit every morning of doubt and realize they were the training ground where resilience was born. You will recall the moments you thought you had reached the end and discover they were actually the places heaven chose to begin something new. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 30:5. Isn't it breathtaking that what once felt like finality is now revealed as foundation? Isn't it humbling that every wound becomes a window for others to see the light of God shining through you? Even history testifies through its antagonists. King Belshazzar of Babylon, drunk with arrogance, feasted while desecrating holy vessels. That very night, a hand wrote his doom upon the wall. Mene, Tekel, Parsin, Daniel, 5:25. His kingdom collapsed in a single night because he mistook tremors for triumph. Isn't that the warning that ignoring divine shifts leads to sudden ruin? In contrast, you have not ignored the tremors but embraced them, choosing humility instead of arrogance, worship instead of mockery. And because of that, your shaking will not be your end, it will be your coronation. So rise, chosen one, rise with courage as the tremors intensify, knowing they are heaven's signal, not hell's threat. Rise because your shaking is the announcement of revelation, not the arrival of ruin. Rise as the one who understands that when heaven breaks a pattern once, it sets the precedent for your miracle to unfold again and again. The ground beneath you is not collapsing, it is preparing to open the stage for your unveiling. You'll realize none of it was wasted. Every tear shed in silence was a petition that reached the throne. Every pause you endured was heaven's way of catching its breath before the next move. Every detour you despised became a hidden detonation point where destiny was rerouted to place you directly in God's spotlight. Those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy. Psalm 126:5. Could it be that what you once called failure was actually fuel? Could it be that the ache you carried was the very magnet that pulled heaven closer, reshaping unseen atmospheres until earth had to bow, like a cathedral under construction? Scaffolding covered what seemed incomplete. Yet, all along, a masterpiece was being carved behind the veils. So lift your head, straighten your shoulders, for this isn't just another chapter, it is the axis upon which history itself will pivot. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Jeremiah 29:11. Isn't it strange that while you saw delay, heaven was actually sketching blueprints more intricate than Gothic arches? Arches designed to bear both tension and glory at once. Isn't it powerful that what looked like a fragile pause was in fact resonance? Heaven aligning your frequency with its eternal rhythm. This chapter is the one history will remember you by, because this is the moment heaven declares, I've never done this before. And when heaven says those words, all creation leans in, waiting for the unveiling. And when it unfolds, you won't need to announce it, your very life will do the speaking. Your scars will shout louder than trumpets. Your endurance will sing more powerfully than choirs. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. Could it be that the same people who dismissed you will become the very ones testifying about you? Could it be that the very stage they excluded you from will now display your elevation? The doubters will have to admit. The ones who left will be haunted by the question, what changed? And the truth will be this: God moved. Like fault lines shifting beneath the earth, His hand will disrupt everything built against you, and nothing can deny it. My dear friend, what you're stepping into is not just blessing, it is disruption, invention, and divine interruption. Behold, I make all things new. Revelation 21:5. This is the kind of moment where heaven invades history and rewrites the script of nations through one life that refused to bow. And it is you. A woman named Clara from a small village once said, after surviving years of obscurity as a teacher with nothing but faith to sustain her, I didn't just endure, I became. Her ordinary words carried extraordinary truth. Resilience is not just about waiting, it is about birthing. Isn't it possible that your faithfulness has been writing a testimony the world will study? The way scientists study resonance frequencies that shake bridges into collapse, your steadfastness has built a spiritual frequency that cannot be ignored. It is not background noise, it is a disruptive force. Your faithfulness, your resilience, your refusal to collapse created this moment. Do not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. Galatians 6-9. Could it be that the strength you dismissed as survival was actually preparation for invention? Could it be that your persistence was the true architect of this unveiling? So, walk into it boldly, not timid, not apologizing, not questioning if you deserve it. Walk into it like an athlete entering the final round, fully aware that every drop of sweat has prepared for this strike. Walk into it like a warrior who has fought through shadows, now rising into light. Walk into it knowing this: you didn't just wait for this moment, you birthed it. And that is why what happens next will not simply be celebrated. It will be remembered for generations. So rise now. Stand with unshakable shoulders, with eyes blazing in the knowledge that heaven trusted you with disruption. Rise as the chapter history itself will bookmark. Rise, because what comes next is not imitation, it is innovation. Rise, chosen one, because heaven is ready to unveil through you what it has never done before. Chosen ones, we have traveled through a revelation so bold that it shakes the very foundation of what many thought they knew about God's ways. We began with the declaration that heaven itself moved differently for you, that you are not just part of a familiar pattern, but the living evidence that God is still capable of surprising even his most faithful servants. And now, as we close this journey, let me remind you, when God broke his own rule for you, he was not abandoning his order. He was showing his sovereignty. He was showing that relationship outruns regulation, and love outruns limitation. Think back to Abraham, who was promised a son when his body was as good as dead. Logic said it was impossible, but heaven whispered possibility. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Genesis 18:14. That same God has stepped into your timeline, not because you deserved every detail to work in your favor, but because his covenant with you runs deeper than explanation. Could it be that the interruptions and detours in your life were not accidents but deliberate signatures from a God who wanted you to know you are his exception? The truth is, chosen ones, you carry a story that will not be written twice. Just as he parted the Red Sea once, just as he caused the sun to stand still once, just as he raised Lazarus after 4 days, once he crafted your journey as a once-in-history miracle. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. You are that new thing. You are that living contradiction to the rules that others thought could never be broken. Isn't it humbling to realize that your survival, your resilience, your breakthrough are not just about you, they are a global announcement that heaven refuses to be confined. And yet, there is responsibility with this revelation. To be chosen is not only to be favored, but also to be commissioned. What will you do now that you know God Himself has rearranged time and order for you? Will you shrink back into fear? Or will you rise into your mantle? Will you apologize for the weight of glory on your life? Or will you step boldly into it? Remember the words of Esther's story, and who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Esther 4:14. Could it be that all of heaven is waiting for your courage to align with God's intervention? This is why I must urge you today, do not leave this revelation untouched. If this word has resonated with you, if you feel the fire of confirmation burning in your chest, then claim it publicly. Comment 777 as a prophetic declaration that you receive this word and step into the reality of being God's chosen exception. Share this message with someone who has been doubting whether God still moves. Subscribe so that you remain connected to this stream of divine encouragement. Because chosen ones were never meant to walk alone, they were meant to build a movement. And to each of you who has already supported this channel, whether through your prayers, your likes, your shares, or through super thanks, I honor you. Your presence here is not overlooked. To those who have given, I thank you deeply, but to those who have not, I thank you just as much for your faith, your time, and your hunger for truth. You are part of this unfolding story, part of this global community of chosen ones who are rising in unity. As we close, receive this blessing. May the God who broke His own rule to rescue you, to lift you, to crown you, continue to surprise you with unprecedented favor. May every chain that tried to hold you be shattered beyond repair. May your footsteps carry divine authority, and may your voice awaken faith in those who have grown weary. May the next doors that open before you leave no doubt in your mind that heaven has chosen you for such a time as this. And may peace, abundance, and boldness flow into every corner of your life. Chosen ones, lift your head high, straighten your shoulders, step forward, because this is not just another chapter. This is history, and it's you